Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Integrated Circuits with Rashid. Hope you're all doing well. What we did in the last episode, we started looking into diodes, um, and what my plan is to conclude diode discussion and then look into transistor operation. I think that should be good for the next 30 minutes. Um, so let's start it without no further delay. So if you look at this picture, uh, this is what I have from the last episode, and you can see that what I did was um, yeah. So you see the diode here. It has a P and N. Okay, so what I mentioned was that, okay, when you have a volt battery connected in this way, so a negative is connected to P and positive is connected to N. What happens is that initially all the holes, they come toward this, all the electron, they come toward the positive node, and eventually the way what happens is you have positive charges left over here and you have negative charges left over here. They make a depletion region here in such a way that after a little while no more charges flow across this. um, so you must have heard the terms forward bias or reverse bias. So in this configuration, some current flows initially, but then it stops pretty quickly. So this biasing, or this way of connecting battery to P and N of diodes, is called reverse bias. Okay. Now the opposite of is forward bias, and in forward bias you can see here that if you put a battery in such a way that you connect the positive one to p-type material and the negative one to the n-type material, then what happens is the positives here, maybe I should draw it, then the positives on positive carriers, which are majority carriers on the p-type material, they are here and they move across. Sorry, I should put in this so in this connection a battery is to connect now a full diode. So this inner ring is for the forward bias, and you see positive holes, majority carrier in the p-type material, they will move towards this side, and the electron which are in majority, they will move over this side under the influence of the battery, and now we will have charge flowing through it across this region. That depletion region that we mentioned earlier on will not exist now. So this is called forward bias. So the unique property of diode is that it allows current in one direction but stops in another one. So this is also a kind of switch. So it depends on how you bias it or how you give it to. Typically the way I remember was, this is a P, so P is positive. So if P is connected to the positive terminal of the battery, and the N is the negative is connected to the negative side of the battery. If you have this way the battery connected or the diode connected, then it's in forward bias. If it's not, it's a reverse bias. And when I say positive, this means this is a higher voltage with respect to this one. So when p-type material is connected to higher voltage and N connected to lower voltage, that's where it's in the forward bias. All right, so let's go into transistor operation. Okay, so transistor, as you know, is a three-terminal device. I mentioned several times that, okay, uh, the, the the good thing about transistor is a very controllable switch, um, where current flows between drain and source, and through gauge you really control whether it flows or not. And by allowing current flowing and not flowing, okay, but changing it through the voltage on gate, um, is really we are able to send information of one or zero to the other side. So let's look into how actually transistor works, and how voltage biasing or voltage setting across the transistor works. Even though I have mentioned it several times, but I never explained the basic operation of a transistor. So I thought it would be good if we touch those basic before we go into the topics of physical design. So let's start. Oops, sorry. Okay, so let's look into an NMOS transistor first. Okay, in the NMOS, you might have remembered that I mentioned that you have what we call it N, P, N type materials. Material are connected in this fashion. What I mean by this way is, okay, you have an N plus or N type material, then you have another N type material, and this area is P type. Okay, and we have another terminal that is made of polysilicon. Okay, and in between this P and this polysilicon, which is a gate, we have silicon dioxide. Maybe let's pick a different color for that. We have the colors of why not. Oops. Okay, so this is silicon dioxide. So it's a dielectric, but with that dielectric, we tend to make a capacitor here, and we look into capacitor in detail in one of the previous episodes. All right, let's start it. So this N plus N material is green, okay? Okay, N material is connected, has a terminal. This N has a terminal. This. Okay, gate is connected to another terminal. Okay, if you remember, we call this, say, source, drain, and gate. Okay. All right. So initially, before we start applying any voltages, we have everything at 0 voltage. Okay. So 0 voltage means is at ground. So we have this one. Just I'm gonna change this. Okay. Okay. We have this one connected to ground. This one connected to ground. This one ground. Ground. Now, if you look at this, the N and P, so you kind of see. Let's try it on top of this. Okay, so you see that there is a diode formation here, At the same time, there's a diode formation here. Okay, so we have already two diodes there. And if you look at this one is at 0 voltage, so P is at 0 voltage. So we really don't have P connected to higher voltage compared to N. So this diode is in reverse bias. And similarly, the same case here. So this one is also reverse bias. So no current will flow between them. So this, we will have a depletion region over here. Okay, draw a depletion region here. Oops. And we intentionally did it. We don't want current flow there. We really want current to flow in the channel. Okay, so reverse bias and okay, so reverse bias. Now what happens is we try to apply a gate voltage here, so back to there, instead of connecting it to ground, okay, we connect it to some voltage. Okay, now as a result of that, we have this gate is where we have a positive charge, right? This one over here, and with this positive charge over here, it really collects whatever the electrons. This is a P material, so it has majority holes, but it has some electron as well, which are in minority. They try to go up, attracted toward that positive. Okay, so let's go back. So this one has, let's pick a different color now. All right, let's pick a blue. As a result of that, we have negative electrons. Okay, so the gate voltage, as we increase the gate voltage, more and more electrons start accumulating over here. So we see that an n-type material is over here, you see, is found, which has the portion of P under the gate dioxide has now a lot of electron and acts like an n-type material. And this one is n plus means heavily doped, not lightly doped. So this one is, so these two areas around are heavily doped n-type material, and in between we are, because of the gate voltage, we are creating an n-type material. As the gate voltage increases, stronger and stronger inversion happens here. Okay, the voltage, the gate voltage, gate to source voltage, at which strong inversion happens under the gate oxide, is called threshold voltage. Okay, So before that, okay, we have a light version, but at that voltage we have a pretty strong inversion underneath. And what happens now is, now so far we had a 0 voltage applied at drain. Now what we do is we start applying some voltage at drain, and because of now there's a strong pull on this side. So what you do is now a drifting happens. Okay, these electrons which accumulated here, they're strong, they feel a push towards there. Now this material already has electron. Okay, they also, because of the strong pull of the drain, they're able to move across. Now this region, the depletion region which we had because of a P, now we don't have a P over here, and because of that now this forms a channel there. This create a small pipe where the electron will start moving. And as we start increasing drain voltage or gate voltage, what happens is now electrons start moving, the current flows. Now current flows linearly. As you increase the voltage, the drain or gate, with respect to both voltages, current flows linearly. And that region of operation where now current starts increasing linearly under the influence of gate voltage or drain voltage is called a linear region or resistive region. And I didn't mention the cutoff region before the threshold voltage. So once we have threshold voltage, we have inversion across that area, that red area. So an N-type material is found. Before that, okay, it's called a cutoff region of the transistor where no electron flows. So first cutoff, then we move to resistive region, and let's now keep increasing the drain voltage. Okay, now if you keep increasing the drain voltage, a point reaches which is called a saturation point. Okay, now what happens is, if you see along this channel, right, so along this channel, at every point across this channel, the voltage that comes from the gate, okay, needs to be equal or greater than threshold voltage. Okay, if that doesn't happen, this inversion of this negative electrons, the electron of the negative charge underneath will not sustain. Okay, now because of the increasing voltage at D as a drain, we have an opposing voltage build up onward from this side. So the actual voltage, the net voltage here at any point here, now when you're closer to drain, okay, this start decreasing. Now it's the net effect of that becomes less than the threshold voltage. Now when that thing happens, okay, the point where at some point closer to the drain side, the net voltage here is actually not equal or greater than threshold voltage, then the inversion doesn't occur here. So that time what we typically call a pinch off has happened. Now what happens in pinch off is, so we have, I have red, let's remove this. Okay, so we had electrons here, and what happens, they start building in here. So as a result of that, we have this area where inversion is happening. and it pinches off somewhere here. Now it depends on the drain voltage. Somewhere it's pinched off, and a result doesn't, you don't have inversion happening there. However, because of the strong pull here from the drain side, the current doesn't stop. Electrons, they don't stop. They will still through this stop region. Okay, they will keep moving. So that point where that saturation thing happens, after that, if you increase drain voltage, there will be no effect on the current. The current will flow at the same rate, or charge will flow at the same rate. So current is at the same value. That region is called saturation region, or you say that it's transistor acts as a perfect current source. So current is flowing. It doesn't matter what the drain voltage is. So, and then you probably have seen in the books these curves, IV curves, right? So this is drain to source voltage. This is drain to source current. So initially, before cutoff, you have this is the cutoff region. Okay, let's assume for the moment no current flows. Actually, some current flows, even though we want. It's the transistor is not an ideal switch. Okay, even when we want it off some small amount of current, which is very important. And maybe I'll do one episode on the scaling of transistor and what were the fixed factors why transistor was made smaller and smaller. And as a result of making smaller, new issues popped up, and what new architectural changes at the transistor level were done to mitigate that. But that's a discussion for a separate episode. But right now, okay, in the resistive region, after threshold voltage, when gate source voltage was higher than threshold voltage, we started conducting. And in this region, which was I call resistive region, current flows linearly with drain voltage. Okay, and after some point, as we increase voltage, drain voltage, current doesn't increase. This was the saturation point. This was the resistive region. This is the saturation region. But it has effect of the gate voltage. For example, if you set a gate voltage, okay, at one particular value and draw this plot, you get this. As you increase the gate voltage, you will have the drain voltage at which saturation happens is higher. Okay, so higher current, if you see current increases, so more current. So stronger is gate voltage, more current flows, and lower is it. So you might have seen these type of curves. And so this is the saturation region, this is the resistive region. Okay, so yeah, I think that described pretty much the three regions of operation of transistors: cutoff, resistive, and saturation. And in the PMOS case, it's the same thing, it's just different. You have, instead of P, you have N. N instead of N, you have P plus, N here, and P type channel is created. Your voltages are different. Your source is connected to VCC as well as your substrate, or this P. So your curves are a little bit different, but anyway, if you want to get some basic understanding, once you understand this NMOS, I think understanding PMOS will not be difficult. So I hope you understood it, and I'm just thinking, is there anything else left on the transistor? Yeah, nothing else. Well, think more if I can explain anything else, or if you have questions, feel free to ask questions in the comments. Um, I'll do my best to answer those in the next episode. Yeah, I think that's it. All right, so I'll see you next time with another episode with another topic of integrated circuits, and we're moving gradually closer to our main topic, which was physical design. So yeah, you know, I'll please make sure you subscribe to the channel, because when you subscribe, whenever I upload a video, you'll get a notification of that. As long as you press the click on the notification button too. Typically, I announce it on my LinkedIn page. So if you're not on my LinkedIn page connected, I'll be happy to connect with you. So take care. Bye bye.